Hello and welcome to Lessons On with yours truly, Nomfanelo, where I'll be focusing here on writing an active monologue for film and TV. So here is part 3, which is the time and the place, where I focus on setting and time and how that is crucial for the monologue. So before I begin, if you have not seen the previous videos, please check that out, where the first one was about defining the active monologue and part 2 was all about character. So let's begin. So let's start with setting. So setting is the location, like where it takes place. So setting can range from, it could be a house, it could be a bedroom, it could be a school, or it could be a public place like a school, a classroom, or at the mall, or so forth. So really, though, with setting, at least for me personally, I find it's better that the location has a personal connection to the speaking character, because that way, like, it establishes like a mood or a tone. So if a character is delivering, let's say, a monologue in a place that feels familiar to them, like for them, it would feel right at home. So I have here like a picture of Andy in his room. This is from Toy Story 3. So clearly here, like it's filled with memories because it's his personal space. So he feels, yeah, right at home, and he has all the toys and all that's so forth. So now there may be times where a character decides to deliver a monologue in a place where they're not familiar with. Maybe it could be like a country that's outside of their home, or maybe like the character's been kidnapped and don't know who they are. So I do like get that, but I would just say, as a preference, just for whoever's delivering the monologue, make to have the characters speak in a place, that resonates with them, whether it's something they own or they don't own. And it can have symbolism to represent important themes or ideas. So going back to Toy Story 3 with Andy's bedroom. So important themes, it always deals like with like childhood, innocence, and like because here it focuses on maturing from kid to adult. And so those could be like themes, for example, or like with Taken. So I believe, yeah, he's talking in his bedroom. So that holds like a connection to him. But I figure with that case, like, it won't matter where he's delivering it, because he's essentially going to say the same thing. Please give me back my daughter, or I will find you and kill you. And so with time, so it's essentially, when is it happening? Is this happening during the day, or is this happening at night? And how about in terms of period? Is this in the present, like right now? Is this in the past, like way back when? Or is this in the future setting? So looking at those, it really can affect in terms of how like the character speaks, moves, and thinks. And also too, like, if let's say if it's during like a specific time, it can also provide social context. And it can be used like as a theme for the plot, and it can also be used as a goal for the character. So let's go to Silva's monologue. So it's located in his own island that's off the coast of Macau. So where he's delivering the monologue, he's takes place inside a computer room, but it's not like the typical computer room, because as you can see in the photo, it's filled with like a bunch of wires. Like it looks very, I guess, homemade. And yeah, and also too, it looks very abandoned because there is like a historical context with this particular setting because so the island is actually a real island called Hashima Island that's located off the coast in Japan. So apparently the island was developed in the 20th century for coal mines and was essentially built as a city for the employees until 1974 when coal mines became obsolete due to gas. And so essentially they had to abandon the island. But currently though, like it's used as a tourism site. So I will post in the description, there's like a documentary that explores this if you guys are interested. And so with like the scene itself, so reportedly they filmed it actually in Pinewood Studios in the UK, so not on the actual island. So I thought it was interesting that they use an actual island, I guess, to use like for Silva's Island, because there's some nice parallels going on there. So the monologue, yeah, it's set in the present. And in terms of time, so usually like with time, the character might be very urgent to say something, so they might speak very fast, like they need to get something off their chest. While in this case with Silva, he's taking his sweet, sweet time to talking to Bond, because since he owns the island, like he feels like essentially he could do whatever he wants. So, because it was interesting that with the monologue, he starts it from the elevator and we don't see him, and he walks slowly towards Bond as he is delivering the monologue. So that was interesting. So clearly here he wants to establish a sense of control, essentially like, I own you, you're gonna listen to me or else, that sort of vibe. So tips on for setting and time. So make sure that the setting has like a purpose than being just simply a location, because it would not make sense, at least in my opinion, where a character decides to deliver a monologue, let's say at a pizzeria to someone, even though like they've never, let's say, been there before. So like I said, like it's fine if you, let's say, want to do that, because characters, they want to get stuff off their chest, but at the same time, like there's not much personal connection. So also to illustrate the speaking character's decision to choose the location to talk. So with Silva's case, with his monologue, he owns the island, so he captures Bond and essentially tries to use the island to show that he was abandoned, and Bond himself like is abandoned, and he feels like they're two sides of the same coin. And you could also use time as a tool for a character to achieve their goal, whether like there is a sense of urgency, like maybe there's a specific deadline that the character has to accomplish, or in Silva's case, take your sweet time since you own the place, and Bond has nowhere else to go. He can, no matter what, he's going to get Bond to listen to him. And if he refuses, he will take actions that in his mind are necessary. And depending on, I guess, the time setting or where it's taking place, you could research the social context of a time period to include in a monologue. So if, let's say, a monologue took place, let's say during 2020, during the pandemic, that's obviously gonna have some connection there, because it's a time where people were isolated and some people miss each other and haven't seen them in a while. So that could also come into play, for example. Or let's say if it took place, I don't know, let's say during, trying to think of a time period, I can't think, but let's say in the 1960s in the South during civil rights movement. So obviously that's going to come to play if it involves like racism or lack of human rights established. So stuff like that. So if it, let's say, it takes place, I'd say, in a fictional world, then I would suggest try to establish some rules like of the fictional world, and hopefully then hopefully that will come to play when it comes to the monologue. So that's pretty much it for part 3. So up the next video will be part 4, which I call May the Subtext Be With You. So here we'll be focusing on in terms of incorporating subtext within the monologue and when it's the right time to use it. So the links for the videos that I previously mentioned will be in the description. You could check out my socials, which will be in the description. I want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below and I'll be happy to answer them. And I'll see you on the next one.